attention. Good evening and welcome to another meeting of our United States Law Enforcement Coalition. This time, before we start our formal meeting and our formal presentations, like we should at every meeting, let's rise and give our attention to two things. One is God, the other one is our country. Will all please rise for a moment of prayer. Because our executive member isn't here to offer the prayer, I must do it. So please bow your head and have your faith in God. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for the opportunity tonight that we gather as one United States Law Enforcement Coalition with all our partners, all our supporting partners, all our special guests. We ask that you continue to give us the blessings and the blessings you bestow upon these young students who continue in their internship program to make life better for their families, for themselves, and for generations to come. We ask you to continue to give us the blessings. Keep us safe. Make sure that we are one in your world to do your good and spread this peace throughout all the world. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. And please, to honor America, join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. So once again, I want to welcome each and every one of you here this evening. As you know, many of you are familiar to me because for the past 4 or 5 months, we've been coming here and we've been doing great things not only for you and your families and for your communities, but for the United States of America and all the other countries. For we have invited young students to enter into an internship program with this organization, the United States Law Enforcement Coalition. And we welcome each and every member of these student interns. You have brought great reward, not only to yourself, not only to your families, but to your communities. You see, your parents, your true supporters, stand with you every minute of every day. And they, like myself, we want only the very best for our children. And your parents, your true supporters, want the only very best for you. And that's why they have supported, and that's why they are here, and that's why you are here. For all these meetings that we've been coming out, we've had law enforcement representatives from various municipal, county, and state law enforcement, both here in New Jersey and New York. Tonight we have a couple of very special guests. And I'm proud to say these special guests not only are honorable and noble people serving their profession in their governments, but they're true friends of law enforcement, they're true friends of law. At this time, I'd just like to announce who they are. They will come up here, they will introduce themselves and give them an opportunity to express themselves and the students and their families and what this program is all about. First, we have the Honorable Supreme Court Justice of New York, Bruce Bolter. Supreme Court Justice Bolter is a legend. He is, without any doubt, one of the most true supporters of law enforcement and the law. If you don't respect the law, you don't want to be in front of Judge Bolter. Judge Bolter comes from the borough of Brooklyn, a lifelong resident, a lifelong supporter of that borough. He's a graduate, magna cum laude, of both Brooklyn College and Brooklyn Law School. He's been a Supreme Court Justice for, I think it's coming up on 15 years. Is that right, Judge? Something like that? 17 years in the Supreme Court, New York State. Before that, he was assistant special prosecutor He was Assistant Attorney General. He, along with Rudolph Giuliani, the Honorable former Mayor of New York City, tried cases all across New York City and put countless murderers, rapists, gang members in jail, and he continues to do it today. He's a no-nonsense judge. You come in front of his court, you disrespect the law, even the attorneys, if they disrespect the law and disrespect that court, he sends a message. He's a great friend of law enforcement. He's a great friend of law. And probably more important to me, he's a great friend of myself. Judge Bolton was just over in Israel for about 2 weeks. Traveled to Israel and met with the Israeli National Police there, and he learned a lot. Not that there's any more room to learn what he knows, but there is room, because every day there's room for each of us to learn more and more. But this judge just got here back to the United States, just landed here in New Jersey. And he's here for a couple of reasons. He's here because I told him about the program, and I told him how important it is for these young students to hear from someone as honorable as a Supreme Court Justice. And secondly, he's here just because I asked him. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of everybody. Please give a warm welcome to my friend, Supreme Court Justice Bruce Bolton.
Chief Kugler is a great friend. And my father, blessed memory, once told me, to know who the person is, you have to know who their friends are. So we all can't pick our relatives or our mother-in-laws, but we can certainly pick our friends. And a good friend will be there in the bad times, not just the good times. My father used to teach me, too many people come for your birthday cake. Very few people come when you're in the hospital. God forbid you should ever have a cloud on your name. Let's say some people say maybe they accused you of doing something wrong in life, and they disappeared. So when you cleared your name, they all came to you and said, we were there with you from day one. It's not true. So you'll judge your friends in the bad times and not just the good times. Now, I'm a little bit jet-lagged and a little sleep-deprived, but when Bob told me about this and the Danny song and his lovely daughters were going to be here tonight, I was more enthused to come, even though I was tired, because one is a lawyer and one is on her way to being a lawyer. And I taught for 10 years, and I have visited hundreds of high schools throughout the state, teaching children about what's more important that unites us than divides us. And I have spoken to a lot of at-risk children that are persuaded to go into the gang lifestyle. And I explained to them, there are alternatives to that. You really don't want that lifestyle because you might not be here the next year. You could either be in jail or be dead. And there, you know, you want to carry a gun, you can get one legally. You want to drive a nice car? Even if you work for the government, you can make a good living and do that. You don't need this nonsense. And it's just too much influence from the movies, Hollywood, and the wrong things. So anytime I get a chance to follow up on anything that Chief Kugler tells me about, I'm more than happy to make myself available to encourage young people to find the best within them. Because you all have it inside of you. Some of you are shy and inhibited and you don't want to talk. You know something? It just takes a little something to pull out what's already in you, that burning desire to learn. And I taught for 10 years and I had thousands of students, and one of my students is the reason why most of the people on buses are upset, because he was a quadriplegic. He couldn't use his arms and his legs. And he was left in a home for people that were disabled in his own human waste. They would change him maybe once a day in an adult diaper, growing up that way. They didn't realize what a brain he had inside. And then one day, a young doctor discovered him, and he gave him a chance. And from there, he was able to go to school. He went to law school. And one of the professors there said, you know, I have this student. He wants to intern for you, but he really can't do anything. And I looked at her with much contempt, because I said, well, how the heck did he get into law school if he can't do much? He did great. He used to drive around in his wheelchair with a tongue depressor, pushing the control buttons and dictating his memorandums to a computer, and the next morning I would have all my memorandums of law. It was fantastic. So he asked me to come to his swearing in when he was admitted to the bar. I was very happy to do so. And then later I read that he sued the State Transportation Authority. I'm so proud of him. That's the reason why people on buses are always upset, because they have to stop the bus, driver has to come back, lock the door in the front, open up the back door, lower the automatic chairlift, the wheelchair comes up, has to tell the people who are sitting in the seats that are safe for the disabled, but they should be in the first place, please get up, make the seat available, and then they drive on. And you can see how people are kind of upset. Then again, just realize if you were in that position, would you want people staring at you? Would you just want to be able to go along with your life like we do? So it's a great thing to give back to the community. Look, I'm a recipient of the FBI Directors Award. I'm a recipient of the Marine Corps Officers Award. I'm a full bird colonel, as they say, in the armed forces. It's my last year because it's age retirement, so I can't go on anymore. But up till last year, I was still jumping out of helicopters and rappelling down mountains. And a pretty good shot. I was in Israel with their anti-terrorist unit, and I took the salute of the Israeli National Police, which was a fantastic experience. And they said, hey Judge, you're not as young as you used to be, and you can't run marathons, but your knees are bothering you, but let's see what you can do on the shooting range. And they were quite surprised, that's to say the least. But aside from that, I have many awards and many degrees and many citations and many diplomas, but you know what? That's meaningless in life when you're at the twilight of your career and you have to look back to what you did with yourself. You can't take your car with you, you can't take your bank account, you can't take all those awards and diplomas and gifts. One thing you can take into the next world are the good deeds that you did in this world. So I was very happy that Chief Kugler made an opening prayer. We should always remember that we're not here by accident, we're here for a reason. And the limited time that we're here, we should certainly give something back. So I'm so happy to see all these young people here. More importantly, students, look at your parents, turn to them, and you should applaud them for bringing you and being so concerned with your careers and your well-being. I think it's wonderful that your parents are here and show such an interest, because most of the kids I meet, their parents have no concern and are bad influences on them. And it's wonderful, especially this community, the Korean American community and the Asian American community in total. One thing I learned at an early age, the respect they have for their elders is something that we all have to learn from. It's a wonderful thing because, it's not for them, we wouldn't be here to begin with. And they taught us our morals and our values. And you should really turn around and applaud your parents tonight. I will.
Judge, thank you very much. I left a lot of those accolades out. The judge, many, many awards. Law enforcement in his career as a prosecutor, Attorney General's office, Supreme Court Justice. But I'll tell you this, if you ask any police officer, any law enforcement representative of the federal, state and local level, and you ask him if you know a guy named Bruce Walter, it is very likely that they will know who Bruce Walter is, the Honorable Judge of the Supreme Court of New York, because he is an advocate of law enforcement. He will never sit, stand, or be in the presence of anybody who disrespects the law or law enforcement or the military, because he knows the true value of that. You lose respect for the law, police officer, or the military, we're in big trouble. And this judge doesn't forget that. And if anything, we should applaud the judge for what he does for our society and all of us. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay, another representative of a law enforcement agency is a friend of mine for many years. His name is Thomas Masters. Thomas Masters was an FBI agent serving in the New York office. And he came over to be the ASAC, or the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Federal Air Marshals. Federal Air Marshals, whether you know it or not, are those people that are sitting on that airplane or watching who goes on the airplane to make sure that the United States of America and the people who travel within America and overseas are safe. This man has represented not only federal, state law enforcement, but he has represented the Korean community. He is a Korean himself, born in Busan. I believe I've been there. I've been in Busan on the bottom. I've been in your country many times, but he's born in Busan. And right now, he's got a place in Bangkok, Thailand, that the judge and I hopefully can get there one day. But I'm going to ask Tom Masters, Assistant Special Agent in charge of Federal Air Marshals, to come up and introduce himself and just give a little bit about himself. And if anything, to encourage these young students that you could be a Supreme Court Justice, you could be a Federal Air Marshal, you could be a law enforcement officer, you could be an attorney, you could be anything you want. You could be unemployed if that's what you want too. But your parents would want you to be employed so you could pay for things yourself. But this time, please give your attention and applause to a good friend of mine as well, Thomas Masters.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 네, 한국 여러분 서은기입니다. 반갑습니다. It's really my privilege and honor to be here. I came over from Thailand just a couple of days ago. Then Tom gave me a call and he said that the group was graduating. I had the honor and the pleasure of being able to address you at the initial orientation course. So it's a real pleasure for me to see you graduating this evening. I want to go back and talk about His Honor the Judge. We met about 10 years ago, and not only does he contribute to the law enforcement community, but the first time that I met the judge, it was at an event for American veterans of war, the VFW up in New York, because they were there to honor those veterans who happened to serve in the Korean conflict. And if it wasn't for the veterans involved from the United States and the allies with the United Nations, probably most of us wouldn't be here today. And that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind, is that not only should we show our appreciation for law enforcement officers and the agencies that they represent, but we owe our lives, our freedom, the values that we in a democratic society hold very dear because of people like the Colonel Judge, who has served his country diligently, and so many of them who have sacrificed their lives, over 50,000 American veterans who gave their lives during the Korean conflict. And I know that I was adopted by American family. My father served in World War II, served in the Korean conflict, and he served for almost 30 years and gave me the ability to live here in the United States, go to a great college, graduate from law school. I became a special agent attorney, legal counsel, and a linguist with the FBI. And I served almost 40 years in law enforcement. And I know there are so many themes that we could talk about, but the one theme that I always talk to people and discuss with them, and I put that at the end of every email that I have with my signature, and that is, we do not get to where we are by ourselves. And that's true. This entire room is filled with people who have helped those graduates tonight get to where you are. And you have people like Daniel Song and members of the board for the coalition who have given of themselves and dedicated their time and their efforts in order to help you, young graduates, to aspire to greater things. Because in this country, you can become anything you want. As long as you see it, if you see it, you can become it. One of the other things that I always call to mind is that if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you're right. That's a quote by Henry Ford. And that's really important for us to take with us, along with the fact that we do not get to where we are by ourselves. No matter how great we think we are, our mothers and fathers, they know, that they were changing our diapers. They taught us how to use a knife and a fork or chopsticks when we were growing up. So as great as we think we are, we never would be where we are if it weren't for the help of parents, people like Daniel Song, like the chief, the judge, myself, mentoring so many young men and women to aspire to greatness. I had the pleasure of being the executive director for the National Asian Peace Officers Association for 6 years, and we have 27 chapters around the country with Asian Americans. This past Saturday, I attended the chapter function for the New Jersey Asian American Law Enforcement Officers Association. 15 years ago, when I came back to New Jersey from Washington, D.C., we had about 20 members there 15 years ago. I was so pleased that this past summer we had the 20th anniversary celebration in New Jersey. They had over 300 members. At this luncheon, we had 80 members who attended, and many of the members were police officers who are on active duty who stopped by to say hello to everyone and to encourage those new members to aspire to positions within government and within law enforcement. So again, the important thing about tonight is that if you do become members of government or a law enforcement agency or become attorneys and work for the courts or corrections, the only thing that those of us who have helped to mentor young men and women is to simply ask that you pass it forward. So if you see a young man, a young woman who is struggling, remember that someone helped you get to where you are. And it's your obligation and your duty to help them. Korean Americans in the community, one of the things that we have to try and overcome is those stereotypes that we want our kids to aspire to professional careers. But there's no better career than serving our country in a position in law enforcement or in the military. And so help pass this forward and help those young men and women who need your assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Judge, we appreciate all those comments, and if anything, I think I said it before, you can be anything you want, young students, anything you want. The choice is yours. Your parents, the judge, federal air marshal, FBI agent, the police officer, we're not going to be there every step of the way. We'll help you, we'll support you, we'll be watching. But you have to make that conscious effort to be whatever you want to be. And I know you have a good start. You should bless your parents for that. Okay, let me introduce some of our executive board members. If you hear your name, if I pronounce it right, would you please stand and be acknowledged? First of all, our board member, director, Jung-Yo Park. Okay, here we are. Un-hee Ha, the owner of this establishment, where are you? Probably cooking, right? Yeah, okay, well, she's a member as well. Jin Won Kim. Queen San. Yun Mo Lee. Yun Mo Lee. Alex Lee. Sung Yo Bak. Probably in the same car, I'm sure. Peter Park. Peter Park's not here because he would have led us in the prayer. I knew that, so I knew that. And U.S. Reed. U.S. Reed? Okay. Okay, well, we're going to get right into the program, and that is, you know, for the past 3 or 4 meetings, we've had the young students come up and give presentations. These presentations are their topics. They are given the opportunity to choose a topic, law enforcement related, public safety related, government related, something to do with society. And they've come up here and spoke in front of their parents, in front of this crowd, and they've given excellent presentations. You wouldn't think that these presentations are high school level. These are graduate, college level presentations. So we just put a lot of pressure on the next 3 young students who need to come up here and present theirs. But the first one I'm going to ask to come forward is Mr. Edward Cho. Mr. Edward Cho is a 10th grader at Don Bosco Preparatory High School.